Yeah.
The moon shall turn to blood, and there'll be pillars of smoke. And the word for pillars of smoke is tamarot ashan, which is palm trees of smoke.
Yeah, like that. I had heard that before, but it's not in what context.
Now, and they came to a place, in the desert wandering, they came to a place called Elim. And in Elim, there were 70 palm trees. And 12 springs of water. Got saved in the Elim Pentecostal Church. Now, the 70 is related to the 70 nations, and the 12 related to the 12 tribes of Israel. Remember, Yeshua had 12 disciples, but then he had the 70. Okay? Because the 12 springs are there for the 70 palm trees. So Israel is there to provide sustenance to the 70 nations, spiritual sustenance, by being a priesthood. So when God regathers the lost tribes, it will be in the context of judgment. The moon turning to red is like the woman's monthly uncleanness. It's actually uncleanness of Israel. Okay?
That's interesting.
Yeah, the uncleanness of Israel. And so the moon will turn to blood. I just put it in there as a red moon. There's plenty of red moons around 2014 and 2015.
Yes, and they're all on a feast day.
Yeah, and people think that this is Yeshua's coming about this time or 2017. It's nothing of the sort. It's a return of the lost tribes, because they have to be gathered together before the feast day of the Lord comes upon them, before the tribulation. So they're gathering back into the land, and God's going to raise up the Davidic throne. Maybe not David just yet. That'll be through in the millennium. David will be raised as king, and he will reign over Israel in the millennium as a king under King of Kings, Yeshua, who will be King of Israel himself, but King of all kings. So, in any case, the moon shall turn to blood, and there'll be pillars of smoke, palm trees of smoke, tamarot ashan. And so when we see pillars of smoke going up everywhere in America, like all the major cities blowing up, and in Europe, and the Middle East, or wherever, probably mostly Europe, Britain, maybe London goes, maybe Paris goes, and Berlin, and Rome. Of course, Rome, the capital of the Vatican, that'll go up in flames. And then what will happen is the lost tribes will regather. There might be, I don't know if there'll be a nuclear explosion in Melbourne or Sydney or whatever, but certainly it's all going to start going up in flames all around the world. People think this is the end of the world. It's not. It's just World War III, and they're bringing back the lost tribes. And it's at this stage, at this time, this is when all the supernatural stuff is going to start to happen. You know, like all this UFO business, and whether the aliens were made out of space or they're being hatched in test tubes in secret labs, who knows, but that's when you're going to have the Nephilim and the return of the star gods and all this sort of carry on.
There'll be mutants.
Yeah.
Maybe from the nuking.
Yeah. In any case, Babylon will come together, even if the Vatican's destroyed and Islam is going to be judged as a religion. It's just like Islam's kind of cooked excuse. It's going to go down, but it's going to take a lot of people with it. And so what we're going to have is the Western world versus Islam. They're going to fight it out. They're going to have to, and they're going to kill each other. And a lot of the lost tribes are going to die through all of this period. And as well as Islam being a threat, there's also going to be the New World Order, or Edom as I call it. So we've got Islam is a problem, okay, and we've got also New World Order police state. And I just put in brackets Edom. And Edom is kind of working for Rome, Babylon. Slaves of Babylon. And we've got the Vatican. And I would just call that, I wouldn't call that Babylon, I'd call it daughter of Babylon. Daughter of Babylon. And although Rome and Babylon.
Why? Hello.
Yeah. Even though Vatican is destroyed and Islam is destroyed, the end result of World War III is that what is the core of Islam and the core of the Vatican and the core of the other religions will set up shop in Babel. The literal city.
What goes around comes around.
Yep. So it comes full circle. But at the same time, I'll put it in a different colour. Blue for heaven. At the same time as Babylon's coming together. This is after World War III. At the same time, God's putting Israel back together in Jerusalem. So the temple is going to be built here in Jerusalem after during World War III. So the Jews are going to be fighting amongst themselves between the Jews that want to keep the land and those that want to give it away. The ones that want to keep the land are going to have a tough fight on their hands, but they'll win because God is putting Israel back together again. So you might have at some stage in the near future some deal for the Palestinian state, and then some deal where the United Nations will become peacekeepers, and then don't be at all surprised if we have the Germans coming in as peacekeeping troops in the Middle East. Germany is rising economically to some degree and is providing stability, and they wanted to contain Germany through the European Union, but what's happening is that the Germans are containing Europe through the European Union. It's because they're a strong nation and they've got a will to dominate, and they will actually pull that off. And Europe will be engulfed in war between Islam and Christianity. Not Christianity, Catholicism.
Yes.
So anyway, through all of this sort of stuff, you can see that after World War III, it's going to be a different world. There'll be no Vatican and there'll be no Islam. There'll be the return of the lost tribes back to Israel. And the nations will be quite busy for quite some number of years rebuilding themselves. Now, it's when Israel, the lost 10 tribes, not the Jews, the Jews will return with, some of the Jews in America will return with the lost tribes. And perhaps many of the Jews that are in America that return with the lost tribes, many of them probably from Benjamin and not so much from Judah. I'd say that God's gathering Judah into the land in particular now. And there'll come a time when they'll want to leave America, but the gates will close. So you've got to, I would say, if you're Jewish and you want to leave to go to Israel, go now. Sure, Israel's got problems, but soon America's going to have much bigger problems.
You can see that coming.
There's another Holocaust coming to America. Indeed, the Nazis that got out of Europe, that got out of Germany after the end of World War II, many of them went to America, into NASA, into the CIA, and so forth, and they've been they've been working on their secret agenda. They've gone into South America, they've gone into Adelaide and other places. And when Jacob returns to the land, Edom opposes Jacob, but Amalek, he attacks. And Amalek is head of the nations, first of the nations. So Amalek, the grandson of Edom, Jacob's brother, hates Israel so much he wants to destroy them at all possible costs at every opportunity. So they're just biding their time until the right time. And God will allow that to happen, just as it happened with Joshua, and Amalek was winning, but when Moses' hands were lifted up, then the Amalekites were losing. What does that mean? We need to obey the Torah. As we're obedient to God's law, we have victory, but as we're disobedient, we fail. And we need So we need to be obedient to Him. So what we have at the moment is lots of little sheep in America and Australia that are all, just here and there. And they're not so noticeable at the moment because there's a lot of wicked people. A lot of the house of Israel is wicked. Okay? And God's going to cut them down. Though they be like the end of the seashore, only a remnant shall be saved. That means both spiritually saved by the blood of the Lamb, Yeshua, but also saved physically in times of calamity when judgment comes. So the Jews, in a way, they got a big dolloping of judgment all in one go during World War II, sadly. But the same thing's going to happen to the church, what's called the church, where many of the lost tribes are in America that have turned the grace of God into a license for
License, that's right. I was going
So
to say that.
that's what's coming. But God still has His remnant that has not bowed to Baal nor kissed His image. That are true to Yeshua, the Mashiach, Yeshua, the son of David and the Son of God. And they have not bowed the knee. And they'll return, many of them, under duress, back to Israel. So we can see that God, the world that is after World War III, is not going to have Islam, it's not going to have the Vatican, but it will result in
the rise of Babylon.
The rise of literal Babylon, which is, and Jerusalem, reunited Israel. So here we have the light and the darkness.
Separated.
Yep. And this is on one side of, this is in the land of Shinar, on the east of Eden, and the land that's on one of the rivers, Euphrates, that bounds the land of Eden. And Israel is in the west part of Eden, the Holy of Holies of Eden. So the battle of last days is the battle for Eden, in a way.
Yeah.
So there we go.
That's enough for a while.